Now, as we discussed in the last class about the buildings in the Royal Center, we discussed about the Mahanavami Dibba, audience hall, and we also discussed about the Lotus Mahal. As you can see in the image also, this is the image of Lotus Mahal. So there were certain other buildings in the Royal Center that we are going to discuss now. You can see that this is a building, and this used to be called as the elephant stable, means the elephant of the army and the king used to be kept over here. So this was also a remarkable building, and it is found in a very good state in Vijayanagara city, which used to be there. Next, it is Hajararam temple. This temple is also very important temple of the Royal Center, and it is believed that the king along with his family used to visit this temple, and every time whenever he used to visit the temple, various kinds of gifts used to be donated in the temple by the king and his family. So this temple was meant for the visiting of the king and his family. And why it is called Hajararama temple? Because there used to be the depictions of Ramayana upon the walls of this temple. You can see that these are the walls of Hajararam temple, and you can see there are different kind of carvings which are found on the wall of this temple, and these carvings belong to the Ramayana. So these are basically the scene of Ramayana, and there are 1,000 scenes of Ramayana. That's why it is called Hajar Rama. So 1,000 Rams have been depicted upon the wall of the temple. That's why it is called Hajararama temple. Now the sacred center. Apart from the temples which were found in the Royal Center, there was a specific place in the capital Vijayanagara, and that was called the sacred center, and there used to be various temple complexes. These we will discuss one by one right now. So traditions about the sacred centers. So what were the traditions about the sacred center, and why they chose a particular place as the sacred center? Especially they chose Hampi as the capital of Vijayanagara. So there is a story behind it. There is a specific reason why they chose Hampi as their capital. First of all, it is believed that this hilly area used to be the capital or the kingdom of Bali and Sugriva, which are mentioned in the Ramayana. That their kingdom used to be the Kisikandha, and this Hampi used to be the capital of that Kisikandha kingdom. And other tradition also suggests that Pampa Devi, which is the local goddess of that place, which is the mother goddess of that place, she did penance in these hills in order to marry Virupaksha, and Virupaksha is another name which is used for Shiva. So Pampa Devi penanced for the Shiva at this place, and Shiva is considered, or Virupaksha is considered, as the guardian deity of this kingdom. So this is considered to be a sacred place, because Pampa Devi, which is another name of goddess Parvati in the South India, so she did penance for the Shiva to marry him. As a result, this place is considered to be very sacred, and there is a pond where she did penance, and that is called Pampasur, and that Pampasur pond has also been mentioned in the story of Ramayana, where Hanuman, Bali and Sugriv used to live. Now this is an image of that sacred center, and this temple is Virupaksha temple, which is devoted to Lord Shiva, who is considered to be the guardian of the Vijayanagara kingdom. The Vijayanagara kings encouraged temple building as it conveyed a divine association between the deity and the king, because the temple construction was not a new tradition for the ruler of Vijayanagara. Rather, there used to be certain other rulers in this area who constructed massive temples like the Hoysalas, Pandyas, Cheras and Cholas. So the Vijayanagara king also continued that kind of tradition to building the temples. Since many temples have already built in that area, so they added their own structure to these temples, and we will discuss these structure one by one. The Vijayanagara king claimed to rule on the behalf of god Virupaksha. It means king himself used to be called as the embodiment of Lord Virupaksha, and he always used to sign in the name of Shri Virupaksha. You can see here, he used to order the sign in the name of Shri Virupaksa, means these orders have been issued by Lord Shiva himself, so that people start respecting the ruler. They give him the that respect which is given to a divine ruler. So they used to call themselves as the divine ruler who used to rule the people in the name of Lord Virupaksa, that is the Shiv. Now, what kind of temples and what other structures were added by the ruler of Vijayanagara Kingdom, that we will be discussing over here. First of all, rulers also indicated their close link with the god by using the name Hindu Surratan. So they generally used to use the title Hindu Surratan. Means Surratan is a Sanskritic term which is a translation of Arabic term that is called Sultan, meaning the king. So they used to be called themselves as the Hindu Sultan. The Vijayanagara king made grants to the temple. They used to give the grants to the temple, and temple developed as center of social and cultural activities with the passage of time. So this became the center of the cultural as well as the social activities, and the temples were constructed by the ruler of Vijayanagara. The king's visit to the temple were important occasion. They used to visit the temple, like Hazar Ram temple we have already discussed, where ruler and his family used to visit occasionally. Apart from that, the king also used to visit the temples at sacred center, and it was also this visit was also accompanied by the chief Naikas of the kingdom. Naikas used to be the commander of the army of the Vijayanagara ruler. And during this period, certain new features were evident in the temple structure which were added by the ruler of Vijayanagara. These included the structure of enormous size that must have been built to mark the imperial authority. And what these enormous size structures were, that we will discuss, and I will show you through the images. Like this is one image. Here you can say that this is a temple like structure, and this is called as the Gopuram. So these were the massive gateways which were added to the existing temple. Raya Gopurams or royal gateways that often dwarfed the towers on the central shrine. The central shrine used to be the main part of the temple, but these Gopurams which were added later on by the ruler of Vijayanagara, they were also equivalent to height. They were also of the equal height as the central shrine of the Vijayanagara temples used to be. These Gopurams signaled the presence of the temple from a great distance, means they were visible from a long distance. As a result, they used to mark that at such and such place there is a temple. These towering gateways also reminded about the power of the king, who could command the resources and techniques and skills. Means the gateways used to be the display of the power of the ruler, and it used to show that the ruler could command such a large respect in the community, as well as he could command such a huge resources and techniques to build such a massive Gopurams. So the Gopurams used to be the display of his power, and as a result he added many Gopurams to the existing temple. The rulers of Vijayanagara, including Deva Raya, they all added Gopurams to different temples in the South India. And this is another image, and this is the Mandapas. So the Mandapas were also added to the temples by the ruler of Vijayanagara, and Mandapa is a distinctive feature of the temple with the pillared corridor, and generally these used to be the main feature of the temples of the Vijayanagara Kingdom. And this is also another feature of the Vijayanagara temple, and one of the best example of the Vijayanagara temple is the Virupaksa temple, which was the center of the sacred center. The Virupaksa temple was built over centuries, means this was not built within a 1 year, 2 year, or in one ruler's rule. Rather, it used to be built with the passage of time by many rulers. And inscriptions suggest that the shrines date to the 9th and 10th century, and the time which we are talking about, it is of the 14th and onward centuries, but this temple was built in the 9th and 10th century. On the occasion of his coronation, Krishna Deva Raya built the elaborate hall in front of the main shrine, and you can see that this is the image of that elaborate hall which was constructed by the ruler of Vijayanagara, that was Krishna Deva Raya. And when he ascended to the throne, to mark his ascending to the throne, he added this hall to the temple, and the hall became the center of various kind of activities. And the pillar, you can see that these are well carved with many images. Eastern Gopuram, the image which I had shown you, that was the Eastern Gopuram of Vijayanagara Virupaksha temple, that was also added to the existing temple of Virupaksha by ruler Krishna Devaraya. This is the image of Vithala temple. Vithala is considered to be Lord Vishnu. So far we discussed Lord Virupaksha, that was Lord Shiv. Now, and this is the Vitthal god, that is the god Vishnu. And generally Vitthal used to be worshipped in the areas of Maharashtra. So by constructing a temple in the sacred center of Vijayanagara, it tells us that many people of the Maharashtra also belong to the kingdom of Vijayanagara. It means it was a diverse kingdom where various sects used to be living, various cults used to be living in that particular city of Vijayanagara. This is another image, and it tells us about the stone chariot. That chariot is built in the sacred center of Vijayanagara, and it is also associated with the Vithala temple, and it is believed that this belongs to the Lord Garuda, who used to be the vehicle of Lord Vishnu, which is considered to be the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. And this is also one of the masterpiece of architecture, and this image you can also see on 50 rupees currency note. This is again a Gopuram which was built by the Nayaka of Madurai. Madurai is famous for the Meenakshi temple, and Meenakshi temple was built by the Chola ruler, but the Nayakas of that area under the rule of Vijayanagara, they built this massive Gopuram. So not only the ruler, rather the Nayakas also added certain massive structures to the existing temples. Now you can see that these are the musical pillars which are added to the temples of Vijayanagara, and whenever these pillars are pat with the hand, they produce certain musical sounds. This is a swing pavilion which was meant for the god, and it is also one of the feature of the Vijayanagara temple. Now you can see that temple used to be the center of social and cultural activities. And one basic feature of this temple, or the temple of Vithala, is that there was a street, chariot street, that extended from the temple to the Gopuram in a straight line, means which used to connect the central shrine with the Gopuram, and that was lined with the bazaar. So here you can see that these are the remains of that bazaar. So the shopkeeper used to display their article upon these pillars and platform, and they used to sell their articles, and there used to be a corridor. So only the pillars are left of that corridor. So this is the remain of that bazaar which was lined in the temple of Vithala temple. Vithala temple was having such kind of pavilions. Now we will discuss the next topic, and it is about how the palaces, temples and bazaar was placed, how we came to identify these areas, what kind of the survey took place in that place. So we will discuss the history of its information collecting, how the information was collected and how it was collated. So the initial survey was conducted by Colonel Colin Mackenzie, and he is given the credit to discover the Hampi, which was the capital of Vijayanagara. The site was preserved by the Archaeological Survey of India, that is ASI, and the Karnataka Department of Archaeology and Museum. So this site became an important site for the Archaeological Survey of India as well as the Karnataka state government. In 1976, Hampi was recognized as a site of national importance. It came into the limelight at national level. Then in the early 1980, an important project was launched to document the material remains at Vijayanagara in great detail through the extensive as well as the intensive surveys. So a lot of surveys started at the site of Hampi and Vijayanagara in 1980s, and they used a variety of techniques to collect the information from that place. So one by one we are going to discuss what kind of techniques were used by these people to collect the information from the site of Hampi and Vijayanagara. The first step which is involved in this surveying and mapping, that is the mapping of that particular site. You can see that this is the topo sheet of the site of Hampi. You can see that the river is flowing in the middle of the Hampi city, and the contour lines which are shown here, these lines tells us about the relief feature of that area, that the entire region was surrounded by the low hills. So the first step was to divide the entire area, the entire topo sheet which we prepared over there, into 25 squares, and each square was named like square A, B, the same way N. So N square is in the middle of the Hampi, and this is related to the sacred center. So we will zoom in into this map and we will identify where the sacred center is really located. For that we will again divide this N square into further pieces. Like this is the N square, and it has been divided into 25 squares again to zoom in to collect the information from that place, like NA, NB, NC, and you will find that there is NM. So we are going to search here, and this is the place which is having the sacred center. So further NM will again be divided into 25 parts. So this is a technique which is generally used to collect the information from Hampi and some other archaeological sites. So each of the small square was subdivided into a set of even smaller squares. Each of these smaller squares was further subdivided into yet smaller units. These detailed surveys have been extremely painstaking. It's a very difficult and tedious task, it's not that easy, and have recorded thousands of structures from tiny shrines, the residence, to the elaborate temple. So we tried to collect each and every information from these surveys which was conducted at that site by making the topo sheets and by dividing the entire topo sheets into smaller and smaller squares. Now, how the building becomes the source of information, that we are going to discuss over here. Buildings provide useful information in understanding the past. So material remain proves to be very helpful in understanding the history of the past. Building that survives tells us about the ways species were organized and used, how they were built, with what material and techniques they were built. We can assess the defense requirement and military preparedness of a city by studying its fortification. Like we have discussed the fortification of Vijayanagara, that there used to be 7 lines of fortification. So what kind of material was used, what kind of fortification was there. So we will come to know about their defense preparedness. Buildings also tell us about the spread of ideas, like there used to be various buildings which were related to different religion, like mosques were also there, temples were there. Vithala temple was there, which is related to the Maharashtrian culture, and Virupaksha temple which is related to the Kannada culture. So there used to be a lot of temples, there were many secular buildings, and different architectural techniques were used. Like we discussed, the gateways were the mixture of Indo-Islamic architecture. It means the people of Islam also used to reside in that particular area, so their influence can be observed through these buildings. So through building we will come to know about the social structure of that particular area. Building also tell us about the spread of ideas, cultural influence. If we compare them with the building in other places, they conveys ideas which the builder or the patron wish to project. Means generally the building carries the ideas of its patron. So generally the patron tries to project his own ideas and beliefs through making these buildings. So the building proves to be very helpful to gather the information about the society and the culture of that particular time.